Good morning, good morning. It is a snowy day here in Iowa, and it's not too bad. Went for a morning walk this morning just to kind of get the blood flowing a little bit for today. For those that know what is going on, go ahead and kick to 120, and we will dive in. For those that are just seeing me for the first time, what's up? My name is Nick Kleitch, and I am the creator of the Life with Nick podcast, creator of the Life with Nick YouTube channel and the host of the Life with Nick podcast. Just to be very upfront with you, I read, discuss, and teach a personal development book a month. As you can see, there's a variety of books that we're going to be reading in the future, but for now, as the library starts to build, if this is for you, and I'd love for it to be, join me and just go through and kind of sit with me, and we'll talk and discuss different segments of different books. And if you really love it, subscribe so you can be updated on just new things coming out. Also, I do host a podcast where I chat with everyday folks, and I do this because I'm a curious person and I love talking to everyday people from that standpoint. So if you want to go to the YouTube channel, click the website, you'll get a little bit better idea of me and some of the guests that I've had on. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into today's video. So this book of the month is The 5 Major Pieces of the Life Puzzle by Jim Rohn. We have covered the first major piece, which is personal philosophy. We've covered the introduction to the second piece, which is attitude. And we find ourselves in the third segment of attitude. And that segment is going to be kind of fun because we've talked a little bit about the past, a little bit about the present, and I'm assuming you guys can figure out where we are going to talk about today. Sorry, there was a text that just came in here. Okay, so now that we've introduced the second major piece of the life puzzle, attitude, we are able to discuss Jim's philosophy regarding the past and also the present. And the present is, again, where the battle between the minds take place, where the arena of decision making is located. The last piece of this trio is where we'll be spending our time today. The final piece of the trio, of course, is called the future. Our attitude about the future is also of great importance, if not, in my opinion, the most important, as the future is what lies ahead. The past possesses all of our results from what we've accomplished. However, the future brings with it the energy to empower us to take advantage of the potential opportunities that lie in the present moment. To endure what is, we must remember what was and dream of things as they will be one day. Our attitude about the future depends on our ability to see the future, which is important. Each of us has an inherent ability to dream, design, and experience the future through the power of the imaginative inner eye. Ooh, not trying to get too spooky on you, but that Jim writes in a very, very cool kind of old school way. But yeah, just our ability to imagine the future. And here is a quick, just kind of stop in point from me. How often or when was the last time that you truly sat down for a good 30 minutes to an hour to say, what do I want to do in the future? Who do I want to be? Where do I want to go? Who do I want to do it with? I know that sounds ridiculous, but if we're not actively planning these items, we will again do the worst thing in human history, which is to drift. And I say it's the worst in history because when we're drifting, we have no control over our destination for ourselves, and we will be told by our outside influences where to go. We will then, unfortunately, end up in a place down the road that is not what we decided. That is the worst part of the whole equation. We want to arrive at a destination that we hand selected, and we work towards it to get to this specific point. So, anyway, whatever the mind has the capacity to create and imagine, it also has the ability to create. Just as the body instinctively knows how to perform the miracle of health, the mind instinctively knows how to perform the miracle of wealth and success. So I really just want to cue in on that real quick before we get to our first pillar, and that is just know that we have the ability to create and imagine. The power in that is so, so big. Don't take it from me either. Think about all the cars that we drive, all the roads that we are able to drive on, the housing we're able to live in, the businesses that we consume good from. All of that at one point was in somebody's mind, and they took that idea and they made it a reality. How cool is that? So this pillar brings us to our first pillar, and that pillar is called Designing a Better Future. There is a very special emotional magic that takes place when we design the future and set new goals with a specific vision and purpose in mind. As we see the future clearly in our mind's eye, we experience a level of excitement and anticipation of the day ahead when all those things that we dreamed about will become a reality. The more clearly we see the vision of the future, the more we're able to borrow from that inspiration. This borrowed inspiration finds its way into our conversations, our energy level, our relationships, and our attitude. The more excited we become about our future dreams, the easier it is to develop the necessary disciplines and make the refinements to our personal philosophy and have fun. Said another way, our dreams inspire us to think and act and feel and become exactly the kind of person we must become to realize our dreams. So let's really just kind of juice that out for just a little bit. Could you imagine if you're working on a project that you've always wanted to work on and you're able to feel the end completion of that project, and you have just this kind of extra layer of getting up, getting ready to attack the day. You're excited, right? You're creating, you're designing, you're developing this said thing. That is what we are trying to engage with every single day. That's what makes the present worth putting the discipline in for, is this feeling of completion, this feeling of the work of getting to the end of the project. And that just gives you a little pep in your step. You know what I'm saying? And that pep leads to other things like building self-confidence through completion of activities. And you just kind of get this momentum going and you're just alive. And then people are going to look and be like, holy shit, what's that person on? What kind of energy drink did they drink this morning? And it's really not any energy drink. It's just the fact that you're so in tune with what you're creating and what you're wanting to create in your life. And that just exudes to people naturally, which is so great. If we are intelligent enough to invest our experience of the past and wise enough to borrow the excitement and inspiration of the future, then the past experiences and the future excitement today become today's servant for the actions we need to take. As designing our future energizes us, we will begin to feel a pull by an invisible force. This force is something we need to harness alongside finding guidance from our past to overcome all the obstacles in creating our future life. Real quick before we go to pillar 2. This invisible force I brought up. Yes, he wrote it, and yes, I believe in it, and what is called as momentum. So not only are we able to take this library and learn from it and apply it today, and not only are we able to receive this extra shot of juice from where we're looking to go in the future, but when we do this daily action towards getting closer and closer and closer to that vision, we get this invisible momentum. And that is a little bit what I was talking about with walking with kind of a quicker stride and a sharper stride. When people know what they're building, they just have this next gear, fourth gear that they can get to really go after what they want to go after. Wrapping up number 1 on that pillar. Okay. So now that all sounds good, right? Now we're going to get a little bit tactical. As the old saying goes, the future always carries with it its own price tag. This will be pillar number 2. The promise of our future is not free. There is a price to be paid for any future reward. The great myth in life is that one day we will be free of work in general. And this is one that is really tough to kind of swallow. And that is, again, we think when we retire and or do other things that when we want to get away from the work, right? We want to think the work eventually ends. However, the work just adjusts and we must always have it. And I don't want to try to spend too much time convincing you of why this is, but let me just share in my own kind of perspective on things. So work in the beginning is work because we're forced to do it, right? Unless you've had unbelievable clarity growing up and you had this kind of knowledge of where you wanted to be and what you wanted to do. Work is work because it requires this subtlety of forcefulness of going to work. Maybe not for some people. But as we design and better ourselves through these practices that we've been talking about, we can get into more of a channel of doing things on our own terms and doing things we love to do and like to do and enjoy doing and are good at. So we're slowly switching over that work from forcefulness to our choice and autonomy. And when we get over here to the other end of the spectrum, as far as being completely on our own terms, This then creates this kind of fun and energy towards what we do for work. Now, if we get to a point where we're just crushing it, right? We're just destroying in a positive way everything that comes in front of us. We're making great projects, whatever the case is. We don't want to pull that work away forever and be done forever. And the reason for that is because we will begin to rot. Mentally, spiritually, physically, all of those things will get to go away because it is the work that allows us to get into the certain form of ourselves. So think of work as an eventual thing that you'll get to choose to do on your own terms and have a lot of fun doing. That's where we want to be, and we always want to have the work. As we continue to design our future, we design a price tag for this future. The price of the future for us is all the disciplines, labor consistency, and a burning desire to make the future better than either the past or the present. This is the price tag of progress, but the price gets easier to pay when the promise becomes clear. When the lifestyle we desire to live becomes so attractive to us, we become keenly interested in what it means to get there. I love it, and I'm feeling motivated just reading this. We must see and want the promise with an insatiable desire, or the price it takes, or the price it requires to overcome our wishes will be too much, and we will fall back to where we once were. We cannot move casually into a better future. We cannot casually pursue the goal we have set for ourselves. A goal that is casually pursued is a wish, and a wish for a better future is merely self-delusion. So I just want to put a pause in here really quick before we repeat that. So essentially what he's saying is that the more in tune we get that lens or that scope of where we want to go and what we want to create, the more confidence and determination, persistence, perseverance, all that stuff, we will leverage to get there. We can overcome incredible things when we're just destined on what we want to create, which is beautiful. Now, he's saying that when we go to set these goals and these visions, that we cannot do that casually. Because if we simply wish for something, wishing is kind of a weak way of like, oh, I wish I had $1 million. Well, so does everyone, right? Who is able to filter in such a clear picture of how to get that million that they're able to do the work it takes to get to that million. So then he kind of just adds on this little flavor of it's merely self-delusion, meaning that if you just wish and hope, that's not going to be able to get it done at the end of the day. This is kind of another cool part. Wishes are an anesthetic to be used by the unambitious, a narcotic that dulls their awareness of the desperate condition. When we plan our future so carefully and so clearly, we can develop a magnificent obsession about the future. The challenge is to let this obsession fuel the fire that heats our talents and our skills to be the boiling point so we are propelled into a whole new future. Man, it's awesome. So what he's saying is that if you're half-assing this, which in the beginning, I'll give a little bit of grace because if you've never done something like this, like set goals or visions, it can be a little challenging, but if you've done multiple repetitions on that and you're beginning to kind of move forward into doing it consistently, crank up that level of seriousness, crank up that level of commitment from you to the said goal, so that way you'll do anything you can to get there and get around it. And then going back to what he's saying is that eventually it can become an obsession as far as going after the vision that you're trying to create, which is awesome. Some good questions to consider as we design our better future. And this is from me, not necessarily in the writing. It might be some of the writing a little bit too. But so get a pen and paper if you want. How much of that future do we actually see and believe deep within our soul? Good question. Real quick again. How much of the future do we actually see and believe deep within our soul? Is it clear enough in our minds and our hearts to drive us out of bed each morning and keep us up late at night? Is it so clear in our minds that we get out of bed early and we stay up late at night? Are we so locked in on the target we have selected? Are we so locked in on the target we've selected that we can brush away obstacles and disappointments? I love that question. Are we so locked in on the target that we have selected that we can brush away obstacles and disappointments? Last one. In our desires to change ourselves and our circumstances, are we fully prepared to go over, under, around, and or through whatever life throws at us? In our desires to change ourselves in our current circumstances? Are we fully prepared and committed to go over, under, around, or through whatever life throws at us? It's beautiful. So write those down, take a little bit of time to ponder, and then we'll keep moving here. To wrap up, pillar number 2. It is this new attitude that will provide us with the renewed ambition for progress and the faith that we can really move mountains, which is true. So we're going to pause just for a moment here. We've covered a lot of good things, but we'll be on our final pillar and the third part of attitude here, talking about the future. So one thing I wanted to just kind of summarize here as we've been talking is that, again, we talked about the set of the sail, right? This is the personal philosophy sail. And that sail can be turned in any which direction to take us to any certain location or destination we want it to go. Basically, this attitude that comes with this sail is this attitude of consistently just refining our future goals, attacking and moving in the present, and just developing this unwavering attitude. And when you've met someone that has an attitude that just doesn't seem to quit, they're sometimes kind of annoying, right? Like why does that person always talk about this? Or why are they so like preaching on the high mountain on XYZ? And though we feel that they're annoying at times, there is something that they may possess that we don't. And that is just this kind of fuel, this ambition, this whatever word you want to use for it, because they're going after something that they want. So we can ridicule them and make fun of them, which is fine. I get it. But also have just a little bit of respect towards them because they've found something that we don't have if we're just kind of sitting on our hands, right? If we're being honest with ourselves, are we really actually pursuing what we want to pursue in life? A little bit of kind of an accountability mirror kind of thing for us. So that's how I would use that kind of relationship is to like, okay, yeah, I'm being annoyed, but why am I being annoyed? Is it because they're making progress and I'm not? Or maybe they're just flat out annoying, which is okay. But as long as they're preaching good material, we kind of have to give them a little bit of a grain of salt. So now that we've gathered ourselves, so to round out this video with some tactical information, our final pillar is called all things must be finished before they can be started. Okay, let me take a drink of water and then we'll conclude. Beautiful. Everything in the world around us was finished in the mind of its creator before it was started. The houses we live in, the cars we drive, our clothes, our modern consumer products, and everything else, everything begins with an idea and has begun with an idea. Each idea was then studied, refined, and perfected into the product that we have used for thousands of years. Long before the idea was converted into a physical reality, the mind had clearly envisioned the final product. Human beings design their futures through a similar process. We begin with an idea about how the future will be. And we're, again, using our imagination on how this future will be. Over a period of time, we refine and attempt to perfect this vision. Before long, our every thought, decision, and activity are all working in harmony to bring into existence what we have mentally concluded about the future. This is why having the right attitude about both the past and present circumstances is so important. We have to have a healthy attitude about the past and constructive feelings about ourselves and the present opportunities. We subconsciously guide ourselves towards the achievement of our dreams. The thoughts and feelings we allow for ourselves to have today are critical, for they are contributing to our future, whether we like it or not. What that future holds will simply be a mirror image of our current philosophy and attitude about life. This is a wonderful way to conclude that little piece there. So all in all, as we've talked, personal philosophy and in our attitude, we have this wonderful cohesion of forces that we are consistently working on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis to get to the point where we are going to become an unstoppable force. And all of this is just 2 out of the 5 pillars, which is so great. So thank you guys for reading along. I believe we'll have 1, maybe 2 more parts on attitude, and then we'll keep the ball rolling on this book. So let's keep reading, guys.